Welcome everyone. My name is Dee. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is the Catalyst New Moon Report. I don't want to forget about the new moon amidst all of the global shifting and, the things that we're really focused on right now. So, but we have a new moon coming. The moon just went into Aries just about 20 minutes ago, actually. And so today our moon was sextile to all the Capricorn energy. The sun was square to the moon's nodes today. And tomorrow in the early hours of the morning, we'll have the new moon in Aries at 4 degrees and 12 minutes of Aries. We still have Mercury in Pisces. I'm looking at my notes, by the way. Mercury in Pisces, Venus in the last 10 degrees now of, as of tomorrow, of Taurus. Mars in Capricorn, now moved past Jupiter. Saturn is now in Aquarius and will be so at least until May, and we're going to get into that. Uranus holding strong in Taurus, Neptune still in Pisces, Pluto still in 24 degrees, between 24 and 25 degrees Capricorn, and the nodes by tomorrow, and of today actually, the nodes have slipped back into the former degree. So the north node is at 3 degrees, 51 minutes of Cancer, and the south node is 3 degrees, 51 minutes of Capricorn. We also have Black Moon Lilith now in Aries that is about to conjunct Chiron and is, had just passed the point of where the new moon will be. Black Moon Lilith is the apogee of the moon's orbit. That means it is the position where the moon's orbit is furthest from the Earth, because everything orbits around in an elliptical orbit, not a circle. So some places it's further away, and some places it's closer to the object that it's rotating around. So the part that's further away is called the apogee, and this is the point of Black Moon Lilith. It's not an object, it's a point representing a deep urge for survival, self-preservation, and instinctual animalistic action. So, and now she is in Aries, which is very much about the individual, to the point where you don't even realize that there's anything but the individual. So we're going to talk a little bit about Aries, some of the main conjunctions and transits that are going to be happening throughout the week after the new moon. And also we're going to talk a little bit about why tomorrow is so important for the moving through the rest of 2020, because there are some significant things that will come back to this time, especially tomorrow with the new moon. Later in the year, we'll come back to this moment in a very specific way, and I want to address that. So I hope the sound is okay. I can't really get the microphone closer to me when I'm sitting back in my chair. I'm also going to link a video at the end of this video. I'm starting a new series about the starseed's journey through the coronavirus, and I'm really documenting my own progress through this situation, because I have become symptomatic, I think. I mean, it's hard to tell. There's so much varying information, but that's why I'm starting my documentation now, because I want to know really what is happening, and I want to be able to share that. So that's something that's going to be linked at the end of this video. But for now, we're going to talk about the new moon in Aries. It is the first new moon of spring. It is in Aries, sharing the stage with the sun and Chiron. But today, all of the Pisces energy had a sextile with all the Capricorn stuff, and it's been a weird day. Late Pisces, we're really getting into the the expansiveness of the ocean, and it's kind of interesting. When we get into late Pisces, we start to gather our resources back together to support the ending of a cycle and a beginning. So when you get to the end of Pisces, the imagery starts to shift towards a differentiation of the energy. It's not so formless. and boundaryless anymore because you're preparing to start in a new cycle. And Aries is the beginning of the cycle. It's the seed. Um, it's all about potential energy and potential creation. And with that potential is always the possibility that the seed doesn't germinate. That doesn't happen until Gemini in the third house is the first germination. So right now, Aries is all about potential. And we do see, and we are experiencing this moment of intense potential. Nothing is really formed yet. Now, there are things that, timelines in place, but there's no way to really know how all of this is going to unfold. Even the most gifted seers and psychics are just really reading the energetic pattern of the situation at that time. And so there's really no way to know distinctly what's going to happen. And so you can really feel that being with the Aries new moon, that it's all potential right now, but we're also feeling the possibility of that potential. And the new moon, that's a good time to plant seeds. So I wanted to get this video out now because tomorrow morning when we wake up again, it's going to be a good time to actually do our intention rituals, whatever ceremonies, whatever we do for the new moon, because we're not only setting intention for the next lunar cycle, which will be significant, we're setting intention for the whole season and the whole solar cycle, the whole year. And there's a lot that's going to be happening in 2020. I'll tell you that much. It's already been that way, but there's a lot more that's going to happen. So this is a really good time to see the potential. Also be aware of the fact that polarization is still part of reality for us, and that's not going to go away. And part of this new moon is the inkling on a mass scale that there is polarization, and that it's the union of polarization that allows us to create something new. But we have to at least recognize the polarization within ourselves first, which is Aries, which is us, our ego consciousness, our sense of individuality. It is the seed from which our consciousness eventually germinates. But that has a lot to do with not just the seed, but also the environment, which is Taurus. And so Venus and Uranus still in Taurus, I mean, she's really been anchoring us into reality and what feels good, what doesn't, relationships. And she's getting into her mastery level now, the last 10 degrees of Taurus. And she's going to actually trine Jupiter later this week in Capricorn. And that is going to be spectacular, I think. These two benefic planets, one about love and relationships and resources and what feels good, and Jupiter's optimization and expansion and abundance and good fortune. Because Jupiter, the general, he's already accepted his medals. He's admitted defeat in the Capricorn externalized structure world and is now moving into more of a transcendent goal in terms of where his focus is. He realized these battles are just kind of useless in terms of always trying to fight and struggle over resources and these institutions that are just crumbling right before our eyes. It's really quite remarkable. But Jupiter's moved on now to this transcendent goal, like to really put himself towards something that actually will develop his and deepen his spiritual practice in some ways. And so with Venus in Taurus trining Jupiter at this point, it's really going to bring that into a material reality with some abundance. And I think that with a Taurus moon on top of that, at the end of the week, it just feels like the end of the week will be some sort of respite point or sanctuary in some ways. And so it's worth it to hold out, to just know that the relief is coming, and it's going to come in weird ways, and it won't necessarily be in ways we expect, but it is coming. And there's already so much support here for this process, even when it's difficult and challenging, because it's always difficult and challenging to get sick and purge what the body and the body of the planet doesn't need it anymore. And I'm not suggesting at all that people getting sick and dying is a purge by the earth. That's not what I mean. And I think there are lots of people that want to think that way, but that's not how I feel. The earth is not trying to destroy us, but is trying to prepare our, we are definitely getting practice with our immune systems right now, wherever this virus came from. All right, so today we'll look at the new moon chart, but today I wanted to talk about real quick is that the sun squaring the moon's nodes today as well. And as the nodes of the moon and I believe the nodes of all the planets, they move in a retrograde fashion. So while everything is progressing forward in a linear way in terms of moving through the sky, the nodes of the moon are moving backwards. And so it's like we get to revisit all of this stuff as the nodes move backwards through these signs. And so the nodes have moved into a new degree today, squaring the sun, which is at this degree of it's the idea. I have to just read it because it's so interesting for what's happening today, because a lot of cities have gone on to a mandatory shelter in across the US at least, and I think also I think the UK just mandated it to include use of law enforcement to enforce it. So, okay, 4 degrees of Aries. This is the Sabian symbol. 2 lovers strolling on a secluded walk. The progressive polarization of energies needed to fulfilling one's life functions. Now, it seems kind of vague for right now, but let me read part of this. It says, this may imply a temporary withdrawal from routine activity, i.e. a secluded process. It is not, however, a closed process. The positive and negative polarities do not meet in a closed circuit, reconstituting a neutral state of potentiality. They operate in dynamic, open, unresolved togetherness in contact with the surrounding energies of nature. Oh, if that doesn't describe almost to a T what's happening right now, I don't know what is. And so that seclusion, that taking a step back and taking in the polarities within ourselves in order to recognize them as we interact with like this unknown outside of us, is squaring the nodes. And Cancer and Capricorn, external power, internal personal power. That's where we're looking at. And there's this energy of especially with the North Node, it's a cat arguing with the mouse. The beginning of Cancer is so close to the end of Gemini, which is all about polarity at the same time, is about the duality that exists simultaneously with the one. That is what consciousness is about, is recognizing that. And so in the early degrees of Cancer, where the North Node is, we're still very close to this. We're just coming out of this mindset or this energy of duality in the mind. And so now that we're into this water energy that is formless, and it's about emotions, and there's no duality that exists within the context of water. It's still trying to make sense of it. And so the cat arguing with the mouse is like trying to justify everything instead of just participating in the polarized process that is symbolized by the cat chasing the mouse, right? It's just a symbol to represent like a natural hierarchy of some way. And I know that it's probably activating for people to talk about hierarchies, especially at a time where like our whole social system is potentially crumbling right before our eyes. But it's more about the idea that we're still, now we've had this really karmic readjustment, which is what's happening right now. And then we've gotten to a point where, in some ways emotionally, we're still trying to make sense of and almost justify the polarities, participating in the polarities, whatever that is for you. For a lot of people, it's different things. If you identify as a light worker or an energy worker at all, or starseed or any of that stuff, I mean, that the polarity that exists within us is also a reflection of the dimensions splitting even more right now. So the sun, you'd think that the sun is giving us all this potential to look at of creating something, even though we're collectively driven emotionally to like find our power. And in some ways, there's a struggle here with justifying to ourselves what is a natural state of being, of polarity. And the sun really clearly illuminating that this process needs to start happening within us. And this can be in so many different ways. And now that the moon has moved into Aries, in the first degree of Aries, it's going to sextile Saturn, so not in the Capricorn energy anymore. And so we've gone now from this watery earth, feminine aspect that's receptive and still and taking in, and now the moon and Saturn are both now in fire and air signs, which are very masculine oriented, very action oriented, movement of energy as opposed to receiving of energy. And you can feel that there is definitely a shift in the way we feel, and Saturn going into Aquarius is absolutely supporting that, because we have now shifted into this whole new paradigm. And with the new moon, it's going to be activated for us to participate. Absolutely. And so if we're working with the moon, and if we're working with the objects in the sky, and we're working with the energetic archetypes that they represent, then the new moon is an opportunity to set the seed, plant the seeds and set the cycle in motion for how we want to utilize this creative potential moving forward. So other transits with the new moon are the moon is then going to come around and square her own nodes. So not only did the sun show where that was, then the moon is also going to, so emotionally, we're going to feel that tension as well. The moon will then conjunct with the sun for the new moon. And right after that, the moon is going to conjunct Chiron, and then the sun is going to conjunct Chiron. So not only is it a lot of potential, we're immediately going to be faced with our wounded healer self when it comes to who we are, our individual nature, the potential seed point of who we are collectively, and our shame and guilt around being able to even identify with ourselves as a potential, as a seed of creation. We all are that seed in our own way, and we have been pushed, I mean, in every which way. So many aspects of our culture have really pushed people out of an opportunity to get to know who they even are. And so that wound is very, very, I think it's just very raw right now. And so the new moon right on top of it is going to really stimulate the healing of that wound when it comes to this push towards self-transcendence and wanting to be like a stable figure to ourselves. And so we're going to see people flare. Absolutely. Emotions are going to flare. With the Chiron wound, it's going to be like people are really going to act out. I think that the mandatory shelter-ins are going to start really freaking people out. And I think that people are going to, honestly, I think people are going to start, there's going to be a lot of blame. There's going to be a lot of frustration when people don't do what you think they should do and taking things seriously. And it's all over the place. And the thing we need to worry about is how easily we can slip into polarization out there, which is why we need to get right with it here within. And we have an opportunity. Right now, the moon is still dark. Even though it's in Aries, we're still in a dark, dark moon. So things are not illuminated to the extent that maybe we need them to be, so we can see where our underlying drives are. And with Black Moon Lilith in the same place in Aries, we're really, this is an ignition point. Absolutely. And we have to be very careful what we're igniting, and be mindful that not everybody's igniting the same pile of debris that we are, or whatever, not everybody's lighting the same type of fire for the same reasons. And we have to be very mindful of that, and to be loving and forgiving and compassionate with people that are only just acting out of self-preservation when they start externalizing and projecting this polarization instead of focusing on it within themselves, which is the gift right now. Absolutely. Now, what else did I say? Yeah, Sun conjunct Chiron the next day. And then, the moon's going to move through Aries. It's going to move into Taurus. And then I talked about Venus trining Jupiter. That's going to be a sanctuary. It's going to be awesome. I hope. It could just not be. I don't know. My sense of it is it's going to be great. Now, there's certain things that I want to talk about with Saturn and why tomorrow's new moon is really important as a day to pay attention to. I really hope that you guys can hear me through the microphone. So Saturn has gone into Aquarius. It's going to be in Aquarius up until May 11th, and then it's going to go retrograde, okay? It's going to reach almost 2 degrees. So in Sabian symbol, 2 degrees of Aquarius is an unexpected thunderstorm, okay? Remember, Uranus rules Aquarius. This is a lightning bolt, very quick flash of inspiration. So this is the degree that Saturn will get to and then go retrograde on the 11th of May. Right before that happens is when the nodes of the moon shift into Gemini and Sagittarius. Gemini is going to be the north node, what we know, the communication, the messages, the consciousness that is germinating. That is Gemini. It is the existence of polarity that is one and the same, but polarization is what allows for the flowering of consciousness. It is what we synthesize together to create something new, but there needs to be polarity. It's a very basic aspect of material life that polarity exists. It's how electricity works. It's how electromagnetics works. It is how biology works. That is how all life procreates for the most part. Even if you're a single-celled organism and just split, you're still splitting from 1 into 2, right? It is a primary aspect of reality that we absolutely need to master before we can really move forward. So the nodes are going to move into Gemini, north node. So this is going to be our collective destiny, is in what we know, the information, being able to master polarity. Sagittarius is going to be the south node. And I'm telling you, I am a strong Sag person. Okay, I have a stellium of Sag. I am a 10th house Sag sun. Okay, and I have a lot of masculine planets in air, masculine elements, air and fire in Sagittarius. Okay, so I understand this dynamic really well. The thing about Sagittarius is based on belief. Okay, the belief that comes from understanding. Now, if that is from a very masterful, educated, knowledgeable, wise place, this is pure alchemy. It is you're creating magic and you're creating new things, but it's also dogma, self-righteousness, judgment. Those types of things are also a big part of the Sagittarian archetype. And this is the south node. This is where we're heading away from. So as we move into the spring and when we get to this point, just keep this in the back of your mind. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because Saturn goes retrograde at May 11th. The nodes shift right before that. May 6th, they shift into Gemini and Sagittarius, the north node and south node. Okay, now Saturn is going to be retrograde until September 29th, and then it's going to it's going to be in Capricorn. What degree is it going to station direct? It's going to station direct at the same degree that Mars is today and tomorrow, the full moon. Okay, 25 to 26 degrees Capricorn. We finally moved to a point where we start to see the magic in the natural energies, right? It's seeing the nature spirits dancing under the waterfall. That's 26 degrees Capricorn, right? This is where Mars is with the new moon. This is the degree that Saturn is going to station direct in September, at the very end of September. When that happens, this is going to connect all the way back to this new moon at the beginning of the solar cycle of the year. Okay, we really need to pay attention to what's going on right now. What nature spirits and natural energy we are connecting now that Mars is here. He's courageously warrior moving forward. He's seeing it. He's seeing the stuff under the surface now that's operating. We're going to really need to come back to this point when Saturn goes direct in September, and then moves forward again, and then we'll move back into Aquarius and go through most of Aquarius through the rest of the year. And that's really leading up to the election as well. So this time right now is essential for what's going to happen later, which is why I've been very adamant about saying that this is likely not a situation that's going to blow over in 2 weeks and we all go back to normal. That's not happening. But what is happening now is something that can be harnessed for later in the fall when different things are going on and we are finding ourselves facing a different set of challenges. Right now is absolutely important. And I think with the new moon, it is going to be this potential energy of creation. And again, we got to look towards Venus and Uranus because they're in Taurus right now, and they are showing us how to what we need to do with the soil that we're going to plant this seed in. It needs to be conditioned. It needs to be full of the right, you know what I mean? We got to fill it with compost and turn it and sift out all the garbage and the stuff that not going to help the soil, and make sure the pH is good. And we can't do that. You know, Uranus is consistently saying it's time to walk away from the past, time to walk away from the past, time to walk away from the past. Like, you can't change it. It's gone already. And this is the natural cycle of life and death. This is the ultimate polarity, is life and death. And this is, again, we have to master this within ourselves so that we are not projecting it out in an inappropriate way, which will cause division. It's already there, but we need to be prepared and ready to accept people wherever they're at, and to forgive and be compassionate, because we're all going to be going through this together. And I already see it. You can feel the tension about whose fault and who's not social distancing enough and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that that's not real. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, that can't be at the front of our minds. That can't be the filter that our energy and our thoughts and our actions come through, because it's just going to make things harder, I think. So as the week moves on, yeah, the big ones are the sun conjunct Chiron, and then, the moon is going to move into Aries, obviously, and move through Taurus. It's going to conjunct with Uranus. So that's something that by the end of the week, before, the weekend, we'll be able to get, with the moon there, we'll be able to get a good sense of maybe how we can integrate that really intense Uranian change of discarding the past and walking away. We can integrate that emotionally, and we'll get a good idea emotionally how to, now that we're in a different, it's another month, since we've been in the moon in Taurus. And so we have a totally different set of circumstances to interact with right now. Yeah, I think that's it for now. I've made a lot of content today, and I do feel as if I am starting to get symptoms. And like I said, there's a video that I'm going to link at the end of here that talks about that. And I'm creating my own documentary series about the starseed's viral journey, just to give people who are in the starseed, lightworker, and then healing and energy healing, all healing really communities. It doesn't matter if you identify that way or not, but just to give information that's transparent and, in real time about what to expect, because I think things are going to start literally firing up right now. And the other thing I wanted to say is Vesta, asteroid Vesta, that was trine exactly, and it's still trine now, with Saturn moving into, Vesta is now in Gemini, Saturn is now in Aquarius. So they're still traveling in a trine together, and now they've moved into air signs. And again, Gemini is about polarity, and it's about polarization in order to create. And if you are frustrated, or you're feeling sad or isolated, or any uncomfortable emotions about what you see is a separation from different dimensions of being, where some people are living in fear and some people are living in love. Just know that that actually has to happen in order to create something new. And so there's nothing wrong with this process. It's very natural to a certain extent, regardless if you think the virus itself is natural or not natural, where it came from. You could spend all your time trying to find the answer, because there's like a billion things out there that say it came from here, came from there, blah, blah, blah. It does this, it does that. And it's so new and fresh that it's really hard to know what's actually real, except what you know is your truth. And that's why we have to get clear with ourselves and the polarity within ourselves, and realize that that's a point of creation and not a point of contention necessarily, as long as we harness it correctly. I just want to make sure. I think we're good. I think we're good. I'll be posting on my blog. There's going to be a lot more content online, since I'm not taking clients right now, so I can focus on me getting well. But definitely reach out if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you have, like, I can't do energy readings right now. I can look a little bit at people's charts if they are looking for a little bit of clarification, but I'm going to amp up the content for sure that people can access, because this actually fills my cup, whereas the readings take a lot out of me. And if I'm sick, which I'm pretty sure I am, I think I'm going to need all the energy for my own healing process, so that I can be present for things as it progresses. Because, like I said, we're in it for the long haul, people. This is the longest of hauls that we've ever seen. So take care of yourselves. I am with you. I promise. We really are all in this together. And let your feels come through, because that's how you know what's going on, is when you're very much in touch with your feelings and your intuition, and they guide you quite a bit. So take care of yourselves. I can't say it enough. I love you. Let me know if you need anything, and I will see you on the next video.